Welcome, welcome to the greatest dinosaur show in the world, Jurassic Quest. Jurassic Quest. Colossal, fantastic, dinosaurs is Jurassic Quest. Colossal, fantastic.
One of the earliest dinosaurs that we know of was Eoraptor. Its name means dawn thief because it lived at the dawn of the age of dinosaurs. Eoraptor made its home in what is now Argentina about 231 million years ago. Beside that is a kind of skinny dinosaur named a Coelophysis. Its name means hollow form because they had hollow sacs of air in their joints instead of cartilage. Coelophysis is the oldest known dinosaur from North America. And here is a large predator known as Herrerasaurus. Herrerasaurus is the name of one of the largest predatory dinosaurs that lived in the Triassic period. It lived in what is now Argentina about 231 million years ago.
The extinction of roughly 70% of life on Earth.
The big shell you see is an ammonite. Ammonites are cephalopods. That means they are relatives of the squid, octopus, and nautilus. Their spiral shells protected them from predators. Some shells got to reach sizes of 6 feet across or more. The animal that looks kind of like a small dolphin is an ichthyosaurus. That name means fish lizard. It's an aquatic reptile, not a mammal, so it isn't related to dolphins at all. We can't forget about the small, long-necked animal swimming with it. That's a plesiosaurus, another important part of this ecosystem. As a wise man once said, there's always a bigger fish. The big critter here is the magical Leopleurodon. Leopleurodon was a member of the pliosaur family, which is a kind of short-necked plesiosaur.
Outside of your vehicle is where we keep our Dilophosaurus. Dilophosaurus was a predator from the very beginning of the Jurassic period, around 200 million years ago.
Who can name the dinosaur here covered in plates? If you said Stegosaurus, you're right. Stegosaurus is a Jurassic plant eater whose back, neck, and tail were covered in bony plates. Stegosaurus had a special weapon. Along its tail, it had a set of spikes called a thagomizer that it would use to defend itself from predators. And the predator it had to worry about the most was Allosaurus. T-Rex isn't the only scary meat-eating dinosaur we have here at Jurassic Quest. Allosaurus was one of the larger predators around in the late Jurassic. Allosaurus had long arms for a theropod with big, hooked claws. These could help it grip onto its prey while it used its serrated teeth as its primary weapon. We know it used its arms because scientists have found signs of microscopic stress fractures on the bones of their forearms.
The big, long-necked dinosaur in this scene is Apatosaurus. Apatosaurus is what we call a sauropod, or a long-necked dinosaur. Sauropods were the biggest animals to ever walk on Earth. In order to get that big, sauropods had to eat all the time. To eat even more, these long-necked giants didn't even waste time chewing, but swallowed the leaves from trees whole.
Years ago. The duck-billed dinosaur you see is what we call an iguanodon, and it's one of the first dinosaurs to be discovered and named. Some of you might have already guessed that iguanodon means iguana tooth. When iguanodon was discovered in England, no one had ever even heard of dinosaurs yet. So when it came time to name this bizarre new animal, the only similarities anyone could think of were that its teeth kind of looked like the teeth of an iguana, only bigger. The very first drawings of iguanodon depicted it as a giant iguana-like creature. The animal it's next to is Baryonyx. Baryonyx was a carnivore, and specifically, it ate fish. We know that it ate fish because when the first baryonyx skeleton was found in England in the 1980s, It had fossilized fish bones and fish scales inside of its belly, along with a few bones from a young iguanodon. Since it lived in what is now England, as one of its last meals was fish, this could be the earliest evidence of anyone in the UK ordering fish and chips.
Big dino you see here is Eutyrannus, the feathered tyrant. Eutyrannus is part of the Tyrannosauridae family. That means it's a relative of the T-Rex. Eutyrannus lived in the Liaoning province of China. What makes Eutyrannus special is that it is the largest dinosaur that we know of with feathers. We know that Eutyrannus had feathers because of where and when it lived.
Hi, it's Park Ranger Marty again, and welcome to the early Cretaceous North America. The furry guy is Utahraptor. Now let's see, can anyone guess where Utahraptor was discovered? That's right, Cincinnati. Just kidding, folks. Utahraptor was found in Utah. Utahraptor is the largest known member of the raptor family. Now behind him is a predator named Ceyx. Ceyx was a massive predator that lived at the end of the early Cretaceous. Very little is known about Ceyx due to how recent of a discovery it is. But it is thought to be a member of the Allosauridae group that lived into the early Cretaceous. Ceyx lived in North America at about the same time as some members of the Tyrannosaur family. But those Tyrannosaurs didn't get any larger than about the size of a Great Dane, because the alpha predator role had already been filled by Ceyx. It wasn't until Ceyx went extinct that larger Tyrannosaurs like Tyrannosaurus...
Guess what it is? Did you say Spinosaurus? You got it! Spinosaurus is one of the largest carnivores to ever walk the earth. But it mostly ate fish.
The first creature here is the long-necked Elasmosaurus. It's a relative of the Plesiosaurus, but much bigger. Second is Archelon, the biggest sea turtle known to exist. It had a leathery shell called a carapace, and just like sea turtles today, it probably laid eggs on land. The huge, fearsome creature is Tylosaurus. A relative of Mosasaurus, its name means the knob lizard because of a bony protrusion on the end of its snout that might have been used to ram into its prey. Tylosaurus is a member of the Squamata family. That's the group of reptiles that includes lizards and snakes. They had forked tongues for tasting scents in the water. They even had a row of teeth in the back of their mouths for holding onto prey in the water. And that scary fish that you see that looks like a cross between a piranha and a tuna is Xiphactinus. Xiphactinus was a voracious predator that lived in the oceans all over the world.
Welcome back to Asia, in late Cretaceous period. Here we have 3 kinds of dinosaurs from Mongolia, starting with Velociraptor. Despite what you may have seen in movies, Velociraptor is not 6 feet tall, but actually about 3 feet tall, 6 feet long, and about 20 to 30 pounds. Just think of an extra scary turkey. We also know that at least one Velociraptor attacked a Protoceratops, the next dinosaur in this scene.
Yet another dinosaur from Mongolia is the large Therizinosaurus you see here, with the long claws. The claws on its hands could grow up to 3 feet long, making them the longest claws in the animal kingdom. Most of what we know about Therizinosaurus comes from animals closely related to it. The only fossils we have of this animal are its shoulders, arms, and hands. It is believed to be an herbivore, but we are still looking for more fossils to know for sure. The dinosaur next to it is a Lorotitan, lived in what is now eastern Russia. It's in a special group of duck-billed dinosaurs called lambeosaurs, which are famous for the elaborate crests on their heads. These crests would have certainly served as display structures, but may also have been used in some lambeosaurs as resonating chambers, to make sounds used to communicate effectively through the herd. Speaking of communication, I've been directed to ask you all to keep an eye out for any free-roaming dinosaurs that may or may not be wandering around the park.
Hi, Park Ranger Marty here. Hope you're not mad at me about accidentally releasing the T-Rexes. Anyway, in this scene you see Xianchusaurus. Xianchusaurus is a tyrannosaur from China and is closely related to Alioramus from Mongolia. Both have awfully long, narrow noses for members of the Tyrannosaur family. We're not sure what those noses may have been used for. Maybe to cut through water, making them faster, more accurate fishermen, or maybe they were specializing in smaller, faster prey, not needing the powerful bite of a T-Rex. Speaking of which, if you see one of them, please let one of our 4 security officers know. Now, scientists only described this dinosaur in 2014, so there are still a lot of unanswered questions about it. But I can tell you this much. In the United States, we do not typically refer to this dinosaur as Shianchusaurus. We typically just call it Pinocchio Rex.
Now we travel to Argentina. The big animal you see in this scene is Giganotosaurus, arguably one of the largest meat-eating dinosaurs. Though it may look a lot like T-Rex, it's actually a much different animal. Unlike a T-Rex, it has 3 claws on each hand, a lighter bone structure, and teeth that were designed for slicing. Unlike a T-Rex's, which were meant for crushing through bones and ripping car tops open. Speaking of which, if you see one of our missing T-Rexes, please let one of our 3 security guards know where. And second largest in this scene is Carnotaurus, which means meat-eating bull, because of peculiar horns on its head. It might have used its horns as a weapon against other predators.
Quetzalcoatlus is the largest flying animal to ever take to the sky. It lived in what's now Texas because everything is bigger in Texas. It's named after the Quetzalcoatl, the Aztec feather serpent deity.
The big carnivore in here is Albertosaurus. Albertosaurus is a close relative of T-Rex, roughly half the size of a fully grown T-Rex. Albertosaurus is named after the Canadian province of Alberta, where almost all of the remains of Albertosaurus have been found. This makes Albertosaurus a Canadian dinosaur. And if you listen very carefully, you can almost hear it apologizing. Sorry about that.
In this scene, we have a group of dinosaurs called ceratopsians, or horned-faced dinosaurs. The ones in this scene include Titanoceratops, Cosmoceratops, Styracosaurus, and Brachyceratops. Now, there are 2 families of ceratopsians, Chasmosaurines and Centrosaurines. Now, Chasmosaurines have 2 prominent eye horns above their eyes and a very large frill.
This armored dinosaur is Ankylosaurus, also known as fused lizard. Ankylosaurus was armored from head to toe with bits of bones on their skin called osteoderms. They are known for having a bony club tail, which was used to swing back and forth as a weapon to deter predators. The animal here is a Pachycephalosaurus, meaning thick-headed lizard, named after its thick, domed skull.
I've got great news, everyone. Our brand new head of security, Lisa, has managed to locate one of the T-Rexes and lure it back to its area. That's great news because T-Rex is one of the most common favorite dinosaurs. So that means we can actually talk about the T-Rex, the Tyrant Lizard King, while we have one of them here to look at.
And finally, here at my favorite dinosaur, the Triceratops. The cool thing about Triceratops... No! The last T-Rex is in with the Triceratops' pen, and he's eating the Triceratops! Oh no, folks, this is terrible! That's my favorite Triceratops! Lisa, we've located the missing T-Rex! Lisa, do you copy? Oh no, this is terrible!
And now for something scarier with an even bigger bite. Megalodon! Megalodon is the largest shark to ever swim the seas. It is believed to reach up to 60 feet in length and had rows of hundreds of teeth. These teeth would sometimes fall out and be replaced with new teeth, similar to sharks today. Megalodon teeth have been found on every continent, including Antarctica. For centuries, these teeth were thought to be the petrified tongues of dragons and sea serpents. What they actually were was no less scary. The good news is that Megalodon is definitely extinct. despite what some TV shows and movies would have you think.
Thanks for coming to Jurassic Quest. Security Liaison Lisa, signing out.
Jurassic Quest. Colossal, fantastic. Dinosaurs is Jurassic Quest.